Welcome to the fifth in a series of 6 political candidate forums in advance of the August 18th primary election. Now, many of you are familiar with our forums in the past, but this year we're bigger and better than before because this time our series is a cooperative production of the Capital Region News Collaborative and the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee. Our candidates today are running for the position of Leon County School District Board Member for District 5. I'm Tom Flanagan from WFSU Public Media. I'm joined by St. Clair Moraine from Capital Outlook and Danielle Irwin from the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee. And we'll be questioning today's candidates on various topics of interest to the voting public.
Throughout these forums, other journalists from the Capital Regional News Collaborative have rotated through these seats to ask questions. In addition to the Capital Outlook and WFSU, we'll see folks from Tallahassee Democrat, WTXL, WCTV, and Tallahassee Reports on this stage. The collaborative is committed to providing deeper community-centered reporting on local issues. You can learn more about the collaborative at cfnf.org/CRNC. The candidates for today's race, Leon County School Board District 5, are currently sitting left to right in alphabetical order: incumbent Marcus Nicholas, and James G. Riley Jr.
Reminder for those watching us on social media, please hit the share button and help all your friends see today's discussion live. For those at home, here's how the forums will work. We'll rotate which candidates get to answer first. We have a lot of questions, so we're going to ask the candidates to keep their answers to about 45 seconds, sometimes shorter for follow-ups. We will keep time. We have a bell which we will ding when the time is up. Candidates, you don't have to come to a dead stop right then, but finish your sentence and we'll move on. We will also have a rapid-fire lightning round of questions with shorter answers later in the broadcast. Any questions before we start?
No.
Excellent. Then let's jump in with the first question.
So, what kind of leadership does the school board need right now, and how does your experience prepare you to provide the answer? Either one of you guys can go first.
Go ahead. You want me to go? Okay. Yeah.
Don't fight over it.
So, first of all, thank you for having us. I appreciate both the Women of League of Voters and the collaborative for allowing us to do this. So we need data-driven, transparent leadership that I've provided over the last 3 years, or in my first term. Over the last 3 years, my leadership has led to more than $100,000 secured to continue programs, to start new initiatives. My leadership has offered open and transparent variance reports that gives us opportunities to look at the budget throughout the year, and not just at the beginning of a year and not just at the end of a year, but throughout the year so that we can track. Thank you.
Same question. Again, thank you for the opportunity as well. My leadership is, I believe that right now the district, we need people who know financial. We have budget crisis. We have staffing issues, both of which are definitely in my wheelhouse. In the hospitality business, that's what I do. I build teams, I close restaurants, I open restaurants. I have to run a budget or I'm not successful at what I do. That's the type of leadership we have right now that we need on that board. There's just, no one knows where the money's going, and we're cutting jobs, and we need to find out where it is.
All right, we're going to stay with you, Mr. Riley. Our next question, you got 30 seconds on this one. Tell us about your personal Leon County school story. Do you have a child in the district? What's been your experience?
I'm sorry, one more time?
So the question is, tell us about your personal Leon County school story. Do you have a child in the district? What's been your experience? You got 30 seconds on that.
Okay. I do have a child in the district, actually. My daughter graduated from Florida High. She's now at Lively, which is part of Leon County Schools. I'm actually a proud graduate of Amos P. Godby High School, class of 1988. And my wife is currently working for the school board as well. And really, that's the extent that I have with the school board at this point.
Same question for you, Mr. Nicholas.
I spent the last 18 years serving Leon County schools, first as a high school teacher at Amos P. Godby High School. Then I worked as a senior administrator at Tallahassee State College, where I actually built programs that are still happening in Leon County schools. I also have 2 school-age children that attend school in Leon County schools. My wife is an assistant principal in Leon County schools. My dissertation research was specifically tailored to Leon County schools. And from that research, we've actually built programs from my research for my dissertation.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the topic of budget cuts. Marcus Nicholas, we'll begin with you. The superintendent has spent the last year warning of a financial crisis. What major budgetary challenges or opportunities do you believe Leon County schools will face over the next few years? You have 45 seconds.
Well, if the state still funds us at the level that it's funding us, we are going to face some additional challenges. So there's been a lot of conversation about school decline. So we've seen a slight decline over the last 5 years, as well as an increase in insurance costs, as well as FRS costs. So there is where the budget discrepancy actually happens. What individuals don't know is right now we are actually finding partners to co-locate in some of our schools to increase our income in some of our schools. We are also cutting non-essential programming that we could bring back if we see a leveling off of our funding. I would be remiss if I don't stop now. Thank you.
Thank you. James Riley, same question.
I'm sorry,
for
can you
you.
repeat it one more time?
Sure. What major budgetary challenges or opportunities do you believe Leon County schools will face over the next few years?
A lot. There's a lot of things down the pipe we need to pay attention to, and I think part of the problem is we haven't been proactive, we've been reactive. We need to see where the state is going. We've got governors, potential governors who will be sending money elsewhere than public schools, charter schools, things like that support that type of thing, which will lead to more budget cuts in a lot of people's eyes. I also feel that we have a very top-heavy school system. I think that's proven. We have more executives. We do have a slight decline, moderate decline, high decline, doesn't really matter. We have more people than we need. We continue to hire more at the district level, that we need to cut those jobs instead of hiring more if we have less students.
Okay, we're going to do this follow-up starting with you, James Riley. Leon County Schools recently approved $7.8 million in budget cuts, including reductions of academic interventionists, social workers, arts, and athletics. If elected, what programs would you protect going forward, and what specific cuts would you have opposed or supported? In 45 seconds, please.
I'll bring back the same ones that I opposed, arts and athletics. If we have a problem with students coming to school, as is noted, then why would we cut some things that make children come to school, or what makes them want to come to school? Why would we cut athletics, athletic funding? Why would we cut art funding? A lot of times that's all these children have looked forward to coming to school. So why would we cut that to begin with? So those are the first 2 things I protect.
Thank you. Marcus Nicholas, same to you.
Yeah, so great question. So first, I want to be clear that those interventionist cuts, they've been moved over to teacher positions. So we still have the individuals. They've just been moved away from grants into our actual general fund budget. So that's one thing. The next thing is we've actually found partners to supplement many of the athletics or many of the arts programs. We have great partners out there, and they've stepped up. So while the headline reads cuts, we've actually found ways to partner with other entities to ensure that there is no loss in any of those services that we currently have.
Okay, well, our final question on the topic of budgets is this one. School Board Chair Marcus Nicholas, you have recently used the term administrative bloating. For both candidates, how do you define the term, Is it a problem? And if so, what are you prepared to do about it? In 45 seconds, Mr. Nicholas will begin with you.
Yeah, so I use the term administrative bloating as a reference to a term that I saw in the paper. I want to be very, very clear that when our administrative staff is compared to other districts, what other districts are doing is instead of hiring people at the district level, they're actually farming those administrative positions out and partnering with it's not really partnering with, it's actually, instead of paying for those positions in-house, they are actually subcontracting those positions out. We're actually putting them in. So when you really look at how many positions that we have compared to some of our neighboring counties, we don't have an administrative bloat. We do have more assistant principals than warranted, and we are correcting that. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question to you, Mr. Riley.
Thank you. We currently have 210 more people, non-teacher positions than we do of peer groups of the same size schools. That would include, assistant principals, people in executive positions. So we definitely have a bloating problem. We've had budget cuts, yet we've just promoted more people to the district level, which the superintendent even declared himself. He had no job for this person, but we continue to bring more to the district level while we're doing budget cuts in other areas. So yes, we absolutely have a problem.
All right, we are, I think, giving Mr. Nicholas a chance here to respond, and reminder that if anyone makes any kind of a comment that would fall in the lap of their opponent, that opponent gets 15 seconds to rebut. If you would, Mr. Nicholas.
Absolutely. First of all, we don't have 210 more people, administrators, than anybody else in the district. That's actually factually incorrect. The second thing is the individual who was moved actually took the spot of someone else who actually got moved to a seat. So to say that we brought more people in without shipping people out is just factually incorrect.
All right, let's go up to the topic now of school choice. And Mr. Riley, if we can begin with you, you have 30 seconds on this. Do you view school choice and charter, private, and religious schools as healthy competition or as a threat to traditional public schools?
I view it as healthy competition.
All right, would you like to elaborate on that, please?
I mean, there's a reason that people should have options. I think that there's been problems. I think public schools have created that problem across the nation, not just here. Different reasons. I can tell you here, there's a big issue of if the board and the superintendent will listen to the people of bullying in the schools. I know there's a lot of students that leave due to that.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas, your take, please.
Thank you. So there is competition, but I don't necessarily see it as healthy competition. The problem right now is that there are voucher monies that go to private schools, but there's not the same accountability standards. And that's all we're talking about is accountability standards. So it would be healthy competition if we were playing on a level playing field. If those institutions, when they brought in those students, there were not opportunities to sift through the students that they wanted and shun away students that they didn't want. That would be healthy competition.
Okay, a follow-up to that, Mr. Nicholas. Over $43 million in local funding now being diverted away from Leon County public schools to fund private tuition vouchers for roughly 4,700 students, we believe. What is your concrete strategy to make Leon County's traditional public schools competitive enough to retain families and bring back that per pupil funding? 45 seconds.
Yeah, so it starts with making sure that the numbers are accurate and correct. So the calculations change every single year. So the 43 million is actually an indication of all students who are already in the private schools, not just students who are leaving. What we're doing is we've partnered with Cascia K-12 in order to recruit students back into our district. It costs nothing to the district. It only costs when we actually recruit those students, but also there are opportunities for us to, we've done program audits to ensure that what we're offering aligns with what students are interested in and what the community needs. We have, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Riley, your response, please.
One more time, I'm sorry with the question.
Okay, that was with the amount of funding, and again, as Mr. Nicholas said, there's $43 million, which covers that entire warp and woof of students who are no longer in the district per se. You now have private tuition vouchers going to somewhere around 4,700 students. So do you have a concrete strategy to recover some of the students who are in those competitive situations and bring them back into the traditional public schools here in Leon County?
Okay. I'm not sure what the company is that he referred to, but I was at the board meeting that what they're talking about. I think that's a great idea because it doesn't cost the district any money. I think that's a reactive thing. I think we need to see why people are leaving. Why are people choosing other options? To me, I think it's funny, but not in a good way, that we advertise Leon County schools. We shouldn't have to advertise our public school system.
Okay.
We just shouldn't have to.
All right. Yes, sir. Go ahead. You
No, go
still
ahead.
have
You're
a
fine.
few
That's
seconds
fine.
here.
That's it.
All right. Well, follow up on that. We won't leave it just to a third-party recruiter. Let's just say that I'm a new Tallahassee resident, Mr. Riley. I'm moving into town. Could you give me a 30-second elevator pitch on why I should send my kids to Leon County Public Schools?
I'll be honest. At this time, I don't know if I would. I mean, I told you my daughter went to Florida High. My son went to Florida High, and this isn't this shouldn't judge. This is why I want to run for. It should be the option, right? It should be the option. It's not, and I'm being honest. I wouldn't.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas, could you give us a pitch?
Yes, we have increased our graduation rates by 8% over the last couple of years. We are the only school district in North Florida that actually has a college and career center in our school. We are now partnering with Additions Financial Credit Union to have a bank in our school to teach students, not just teach them about financial literacy, but actually enact financial literacy in the actual space. We have students who graduate with AA degrees as well as high school diplomas at an incredible rate.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to school consolidation or even closures. Tell us about school enrollment challenges and where do we go from here? You got 45 seconds on that one. Let's start with Mr. Nicholas.
Start with me?
Yes.
Okay. So the question was on school enrollment?
Yes, the question is asking, tell us about school enrollment challenges. Where do we go from here to fix those?
So school enrollment challenges, this is a challenge across the country. We've mentioned earlier, we're talking about the expansion of the voucher program, but specifically what I've found, specifically in my district at one of my schools, is that chronic absenteeism is a problem. So when we look at one of my schools, out of the 1,400 students that attend that school, 773 are chronically absent. And then we look at 10% live in one neighborhood. So what are we doing about that? Well, we've actually worked with the principal, and next year we're actually going to send an additional bus to that area to ensure that we pick those students up. That's a part of the enrollment problem. Another part of the enrollment problem is actually the transition between pre-K and kindergarten. We have a lot of students who don't come on the first day. That's an enrollment problem that we're actually working to fix that. That's from data that we found.
Mr. Riley, can you respond? 45 seconds.
An enrollment problem. So, I'm sorry. Can you
The
just repeat one more
question
time?
is about the school enrollment challenges. What are they, and where do they go? Where does the school board go to fix those challenges?
That's a good question. Part of the enrollment, they're already enrolled, so there's just more of an absenteeism, what my opponent was talking about, because they're obviously enrolled. So an enrollment issue would be, I think COVID, had a lot to do with that. I think that's really devastated everywhere, every school system across the country. But we need to reach out to find, that's a great question. I really don't even have a concrete answer, to be honest with you. What Dr. Nichols was talking about was, absenteeism more than enrollment. I think we just need to go out there and try to get the students, in their neighborhoods, talk to them, send liaisons or something like that.
All right, so here's a follow-up. Do you support hiring consultants whose job it would be to bring students to LCS, Leon County Schools, and only get paid for each student they bring in? 30 seconds. Let's start with Mr. Nicholas.
Yes, we've done that. CASHA K-12. I think that's a absolutely wonderful idea to say that we don't need to be competitive and we don't need to market the schools. It's just antiquated thinking. People now have options. People now have opportunities and choices to enter schools outside of their neighborhood schools. So we have to be competitive. We have to start thinking about school with regards to enrollment, with regards to marketing, more in the business, from a business lens, and not just they're going to come to us because we've always been the opportunity there.
Mr. Riley, can you respond? Do you want to hear the question over again?
No, I've got it. Yeah, and I
30
agree
seconds,
that that's something that the board has already approved, Superintendent. That I'm fine with. I think that's a good idea. There's no money costing the school system at all to go out there and try to get some more students to come in. I think it's a great idea.
All right, as a follow-up, we're going to stay with you, Mr. Riley. Mm-hmm. At what point do you under-enrolled schools needs to close or consolidate? Give a clear threshold.
Give a clear threshold. I believe that I can use one school as an example that I know of, that when my wife actually worked there, there were about 75% more students than there are there now. That's definitely a threshold problem. I'm absolutely for not just school consolidation, but building consolidation. But I would say when we start to get about the 50 to 60%, we need to look at, and there's multiple schools at that level, we need to start looking at absolutely options of closing schools. I know it's not the best option, but, no,
Mr. Nicholas.
Yeah, so let's be clear. There's no school that falls below the threshold. Best practices and research suggests that there's a couple different components in which you would close a school. Number one, if it falls below 60%, right? There are schools in Florida that falls below the threshold. Miami-Dade lost 30,000 students. Palm lost 7,000 students. We don't fall below that threshold. Number two, not only if it's the students who fall below, or if it's the campus is not occupying, but also the school is in disrepair. And there's no funding in order to revive the school. So again, none of our schools fall in that threshold. We've seen modest declines, 1,500 over a 5-year period. That is a modest decline, so it does not warrant closing schools. It warrants bringing in CASHA K-12 in order to recruit students.
Folks, a wise educator once said, less can sometimes be more. So we are off to our world-acclaimed lightning round, where you get to answer with one sentence or, when appropriate, a simple yes or no. Starting with you, Mr. Nicholas, what school has the most pressing need in the district at the moment?
What school?
Which school? Yeah.
All of our Title I schools.
Oh, the Title I. Okay, put them in a basket. What do you think, Mr. Riley?
That's a good question. I would say from being at the board meetings and listening to the conversations that they've had would be my only, I would say raw, because my understanding is that there are issues right now with potential health issues for the people there.
Very good. Okay, Mr. Riley, finish this sentence. Leon County schools need more
Transparency.
transparency. Mr. Nicholas.
Leon County School needs more Dr. Marcus Nicholas on the board.
Okay. Mr. Nicholas, what's your biggest accomplishment as a Leon County School Board member or on behalf of Leon County Schools?
So my Leon County Schools has not in 28 years done a comprehensive and classification study. I brought that to the table.
Very good. Mr. Riley.
I'm not on the board, so.
Okay. All right. All right. But okay, to the next question then. What's your best bit of general advice for Leon County School parents?
To vote for me. If you want to see a difference in the school system, we have a lot of people that complain about it.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas.
Make sure you enroll your students in school on time and keep them there for the entire 186 days.
Very good. What's your best bit of advice for students?
Come to school all 186 days or 189 days, whatever it is.
Very good. Mr. Riley.
That would be the same. Come to school and do the best that you can.
All right. And last one, a viewer question for you, Mr. Riley. What are your two favorite places in Tallahassee?
I've seen this on previous ones. My house with my beautiful wife and my dog and my daughter. And really, I'm not much of an outside person, probably the movie theater.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas.
Yeah, my church and my house.
Very fine.
All right, we're done with the lightning round, so we're going to move back into our standard format. Marcus Nicholas, we'll begin with you on this question. If the half-cent sales tax extension fails on the ballot, the district estimates a $620 million facility and infrastructure funding gap. Paint us a picture of what will be on the chopping block. You have 45 seconds.
So currently, one of the oldest schools in Leon County Schools is set to be renovated with those funds, Cobb Middle School. If we don't renew it, then Cobb Middle School doesn't get the renovations it deserves. Godby High School doesn't get the renovations that it so deserves. We cannot finish phase 2 and phase 3 at Raw Middle School. There's a lot on the chopping block. If the property taxes are done away with, we're actually going to see an increase potentially in our safety and security measures. So that is on the chopping block. We have a lot to lose if the half-penny sales tax is not renewed. And let's be clear, a sales tax that's been around for
Thank you.
a decade.
James Riley, same question to you.
I think I'm with him on that. From what I've seen at board meetings, a lot of the renovations would be the first thing on the chopping block. Do I think it'll pass? I think it will pass.
Okay, thank you. James Riley, we'll stay with you for this follow-up. In addition to the sales tax, the school board also voted to put a special property tax increase to boost teacher and staff compensation on the ballot. Will you vote yes? And what's your message to community members who feel like they are being crushed by taxes? 45 seconds.
If you've seen any of my Facebook posts or talked to me at all, you know I am not in support of this at all. The original intent or the original mentioning of it at the first meeting was to give teachers raises, which I'm fully in favor of. But at the time I said, they're not going to stop there. They're going to keep reaching in keep divvying up the money, which they have. It's been to all support staff, which I fully agree with. Now it's essential duties, which I don't know what, or essential something, with no clarification on that or who decides if something is essential. We just don't spend our money wisely. You're looking at about $300 per person per year additional in property taxes, and I cannot justify that.
Okay, thank you. Marcus Nicholas, same question.
First, I'm glad he clarified because he, in writing, put $300 a month, and it's actually $300 a year, which is about $25 a month. Two, I want to be clear that the millage is for compensation for faculty and staff, as well as safety and security. So it's not just, we're not just frivolously spending money. 3, also in that language, there is a citizens advisory component attached to it so that citizens do have, will know exactly what we're doing with that money. 4, the school board will decide concretely what we want to do before it comes out in November. The reason that we haven't done it just yet is because we're running against concurrent timelines. We had to get the ballot initiative to the county by a certain time so that there's even an opportunity.
Okay. For this very short follow-up on this topic, Marcus Nicholas will stay with you on this one. If voters reject the proposed school tax increases, what is your backup plan?
Well, right now, teachers are 44 in pay in the state. If we pass it, they move all the way to 11th. So what do we lose? Well, we lose an opportunity to really, really show teachers that we believe in them, that we support them, that we love them, and that we want to see a pay increase for them. But not just teachers. We're talking about staff as well. Remember, we have the compensation plan that's happening. That's a 5-year plan. Well, we can considerably move that plan from 5 years all the way to 2 years if this passes.
Thank you. James Riley.
Repeat the question, I'm sorry.
If voters reject the proposed school tax increases, what is your backup plan?
The backup plan is to cut, start at the top, cut executive positions that aren't needed that we keep adding on to. The teachers and the support staff deserve the money. We need to make sure that they're getting it. The money is there. We have teachers that get 1-2% a year when we have executives at the district office getting 20% over the same, or I'm sorry, they might get 6% over a certain period of time and they'll get 20-30% in the same period of time.
All right, we're off to the joys of campaigning, as we call this particular segment here. And sticking with you, James Riley, this is a nonpartisan race, of course, but lawmakers have long tried to make school board races a partisan affair. So do you agree? Number one. Number 2, what's your political party and how does it shape your approach for the board? And you got 30 seconds.
No, I don't agree. I don't think it should be, believe it or not. I think it doesn't really matter. I think if you should want what's best for the students, what's best for the faculty, what's best for the people of Leon County Schools. I am a registered Republican, have been for quite some time. But I think this transcends parties. I can tell you with every race in Leon County and Tallahassee, there are coalitions forming that are that are bipartisan.
Okay, very good. Marcus Nicholas.
What's interesting is party partisanship has already crept into it. I'm door knocking right now every single day, and the first question people typically ask me is, "What party are you registered as?" Well, that's a problem, right? Not what I've done, not what I want to do, not what I see for our community's future, but what parties are we affiliated with? So I find that as problematic. I am a registered Democrat. And I think it has no place because it's really about the kids. The kids they're not thinking about Democrats or Republicans. They're thinking about what's next for us.
All right. And of course, money is a huge component no matter what we're talking about. So according to campaign finance records, Mr. Nicholas, you've raised roughly $11,000 in the race. Mr. Riley has raised around $2,100. Is there anything voters should take away from that? Mr. Nicholas, do you think?
No, because I haven't raised much money. So if you look at see who donated to my campaign, it's been teachers, it's been administrators, it's been my family, it's been my Leadership Tallahassee classmates, it's been the people who've known me over the last 18 years as an ardent champion for children in our schools.
Very well, Mr. Riley.
I agree. No, it should not. I can tell you that I have not really tried to raise any money until the last week or so. I wanted to be fiscally responsible, just as I would on the board. Make sure we got in the race first. So I'm currently working on raising money. However, like I said, my opponent, he does have a significant amount more money, but he also has contacts. I mean, he's got a lot of attorneys, politicians, people do business with the school board that have contributed to his campaign. So.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about leadership. And what letter grade would you give Superintendent Rocky Hanna's leadership over the past 4 years? And what is one thing you would like to see him do differently?
I'll take this one. I'd give him an F. And I'd like to see him be transparent instead of trying to work around certain things that he needs to do or he should be doing. I think it's no secret I have no confidence in the superintendent. So,
All right, Mr. Nicholas.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I think the superintendent. I think he's put $144 million alone in infrastructure in our Title I schools when his predecessor did nothing for Title I schools. We've seen increased learning gains in Title I schools. We've seen where there were C's and D's and F's in Title I schools. We now have A's and B's and C's in Title I schools. So I don't see how you would give somebody who's performed like that an F. That's just absolutely ridiculous. But I do think that there are there's some issues that we do have in our district. Again, 28 years where we have not seen a classification and compensation study. That means our compensation does not align with our with the market. So for that, I would give them a B minus C plus.
All right, this one almost seemed like it's grading you. We're going to stick with you, Mr. Nicholas. It's a 45-second question. What's one decision the current school board made in the last 2 years that you believe was wrong or mishandled, and how should you have handled it? How would you have handled it differently?
You asked for a decision that we've made.
Yes. What's one decision the current school board made in the last 2 years that you believe was wrong or mishandled, and how would you have handled it differently?
Well, there's about 7 on record for me saying me actually either voting one or being a 4-1 vote or a 3-2 vote where I did not agree with the superintendent's recommendation. And they all happen to do with hiring of employees. And the reason that I voted no on those things is because, again, they didn't align with the classification and compensation study. It's rooted in the data, right? If the data does not suggest that this is warranted, then we don't do it. That's why we did the classification and compensation study, is to ensure that this aligns with that. So I'm on record about 6 or 7 times where I've said no, but it's passed because you're only one of, 5 votes.
Mr. Riley?
can you repeat the question? I think I misunderstood it based off of his answer.
All right. What's one decision the current school board made in the last 2 years that you believe was wrong or mishandled, and how would you have handled it differently?
I think the decision to pass on the millage rate. I mean, that's the very latest one. Again, I think it's an issue of spending. It's an issue of prioritizing where the money's going, and not to go back to the taxpayer, expect them to pay more money.
All right. We're going to move on to
School
board
safety. Yes,
And
thank
Daniel
you.
got that one.
James Riley, we'll begin with you on this question. How should the school district define and measure success when it comes to school safety? You have 45 seconds.
That's a great question. I think we do a good job of school safety currently. I know the new program at Gabi, which is state funded. Let me clear that up for people who were upset with the school board for spending money on that. They did not spend any money on that. That is a state funded thing with the drones that are at Godby High School. And I think that's a fantastic idea if it works out. I know they're working on it. I really just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You have some more time left.
That's
You wanna
okay.
add?
Go ahead.
Okay. Marcus Nicholas, we'll turn over to you with the same question. How does the school district define and measure success when it comes to school safety?
So we've seen a reduction in fights on our campus. We've seen a reduction in in-school suspensions. We now have vape detectors in our bathrooms. We now have more cameras on campus, so more eyes are on students. So how do we measure it? Well, it's a reduction in all of the things that would be considered unsafe. We are now in many areas, specifically with our canine dog unit, with the drone, we were selected as one of, I think, 5 or 6 in the state because we do a fantastic job, because we shore up our campuses with the gates now around the campuses, because we have people in booths at the entrance of the campuses to ensure that our campuses are safe.
Thank you. We'll continue with you on this follow-up. A rash of weapons and school arrests led district leaders to consider metal detectors for high schools. Is this a good idea? Why or why not? In 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, so there is one school currently with a metal detector. That's Gadsvini Learning Center. Is it a good idea? I don't think it's warranted yet. I think there's much data to collect to determine whether it's warranted. Again, we've seen the reduction of fights, and we've seen the reduction of in-school suspensions, and we've seen the strengthening of our campus with people at the booths. So right now, I'm not sure that it's necessarily that the juice is worth the squeeze.
James Riley?
Yes, I do believe we should have metal detectors in schools. Again, this is being proactive versus being reactive. All it's going to take is one school shooting, one act of violence on campus, and then all of a sudden it'll pop up everywhere. So absolutely, we should be proactive on that now.
Okay, and our final question in the school safety segment, we'll start with you, James Riley. What's working about school discipline policies and what isn't in 30 seconds?
I can't fully answer to that. What I can fully answer to is we need to look at the bullying policies. There are a lot of parents, students who are, if not leaving, but do complain to the district of bullying that don't get responses, either from principals, superintendents. I believe board members, from what I know, do absolutely respond to them, but it shouldn't get to that point.
Thank you. Marcus Nicholas.
Yes, policy 5500 did not exist until I got on the board. When you talk about discipline reform, you're talking about progressive discipline policy, where parents can now go to the school board website, look up policy 5500 and see what the consequences are for the actions. And if they don't agree with the consequence, and again, when you talk about transparency, that's never existed before. So now parents can come to the school board meeting and say, hey, policy 5500 suggests that if this happens, then this should happen. Now there's an opportunity for them to see exactly what the consequences are and come to us and make the recommendation. Thank you.
Very good. We are off to issues in the classroom, and we'll stay with you, Mr. Nicholas, here for a 30-second response on this question. According to the Florida Department of Education's most recent report, more than 1/3 of Leon County school students are chronically absent, missing at least 10% of school days. So what do you think we can do to reduce chronic absenteeism, with the emphasis on what can you do to reduce it?
Yeah, so first of all, we have to stop talking about chronic absenteeism as if it's a thing that just falls on the shoulders of the schools. We create environments so that parents want to bring their kids to the school. With regards to how we reduce it, well, one thing that I've done is a research practice partnership. And this research practice partnership with Florida State University actually focuses on de-escalating tensions in the classroom, both for the teachers and the students, so that they want to come to school. They want to come to a less tensious environment in the schools. It's the very first one done in our region.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Riley, please.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Okay, that is, how can you reduce absenteeism in schools? You had mentioned that earlier in the forum.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's just a school problem. I don't think it's a one school board member problem. That's not something we could just resolve on our own. That's a partnership with the community, with the parents, especially. So I really don't think, other than creating a safe environment that they want to learn in, that there's too much we can do without working with parents to get them there.
Okay, a somewhat related question here for a follow-up, 45 seconds, Mr. Riley. State test results also showing that almost half of Leon County middle school kids were behind in reading and about 1/3 behind in math. So what role should fast testing play in shaping classroom instruction, do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was something with the graduation rates. We've brought up graduation rates in Leon County by 8%, but we're still one of the lowest in the state. We're bringing down the state average. But the retention rates are the issue. We can make them graduate, they can get through the class, but are they actually learning is where we need to get. I'm not sure if that testing, but we need to look at, maybe do another study of where we need to go with getting these kids to retain reading, writing, and their arithmetic, I guess their math.
Okay, very good, Mr. Nicholas.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. State test results showing that nearly half of Leon County middle school kids behind in reading, about 1/3 behind in math. What role should fast testing place in that to try to get those results boosted back up?
Yeah, so I have a lot of feelings on the fast testing, and I only have 30 seconds. So I will not go into all of my feelings on the fast testing. I think we're looking at the wrong metrics. I think we need to be looking at learning gains to determine whether our students are actually learning what they're supposed to be learning, and not the while comprehension is great to look at, absolutely, we also understand that our students come to us behind the 8 ball. So we need to measure how much learning gains our students are actually growing throughout the test. So fast testing, the learning gains aspect of it, we should absolutely pay attention to. We should focus on. But the comprehension part, I think we need to slow our roll just a little bit because there's context that's built inside of that we have to understand.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about closure of athletic facilities, more specifically, quite a bit of social media backlash over the school superintendent's or the school district's decision to abruptly close the track and field facilities to public use. Do you agree with the superintendent's decision to close them down? 30 seconds. Let's go to Mr. Nicholas, please.
Absolutely. So from what I understand, this is the third bite at this apple. This started actually before I got on the school board. And we opened the track, on at our cost. And then we opened the track again, partnering with the organization. This last closure, we saw the pretty much damaging. There was feces on the track where students had to come in and, we had to clean it up before students came in to practice on that track. We saw urine, we saw cigarette butts, we saw needles. So yes, I absolutely think that this was warranted, although the school board did not decide on that. We will take that up at the next school board meeting.
So, Mr. Riley?
Yes. Well, I understand that there are issues with people not cleaning up behind themselves or human waste. The school board doesn't have money. It's not their cost. It's the taxpayers' cost. Taxpayers have a right to go to these if they want to. They're paying for them. There's no access to children. I mean, we used to walk on the Godby track all the time, my wife and I. Some people that they can't afford a gym or they're not safe for walking in their neighborhoods, that's where they feel safe to go and walk, especially the elderly.
Okay, moving off of that topic and into technology in schools. Mr. Riley, will stay with you for this question. Do you favor a cell phone ban in schools? What factors should shape district policies regarding student use of personal devices during the school day? You have 45 seconds.
That's a question I've thrown up before. I can see both sides of this. I don't think a ban per se in terms of they can't have it at the school. I think a ban that they should not have it out And if it's seen, it should be taken. It is disruptive. It's disruptive in my job at work with my people. It's just, that's where we are now as a culture. But I do think it can lead to, and we've seen, not here obviously, but in other school districts where things have gone awry in the classroom, and that was the proof they had, was through phone video from students. So I think it can be a safety measure as well, or show things that really do happen.
Okay, thank you. Marcus Nicholas.
I'm actually in favor of the policy that currently exists, which means a ban at the elementary school level, at the middle school level, before and after school, they can have their phones, and at the high school level during non-instructional time. Those rules need to be enforced on the school level, but what we have now is a healthy compromise for all.
Well, sticking with you for this next question, how should the district approach emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, while ensuring responsible and appropriate use? 30 seconds.
Carefully and carefully with the appropriate guardrails up. We're using Magic School. That's an AI tool that helps beginning teachers, which I could have used when I was a beginning teacher, to lesson plan, specifically in real time, because it takes such a long time to lesson plan. So I think that there are instances where it's warranted. Unlike others, I do think that ChatGPT is a useful tool if it's used the correct way. So with correct guardrails, I'm all for it.
Thank you. James Riley.
Yes, I'm exactly the same. I think AI is something we are, as a culture, afraid of. But I think, again, if there are guardrails, if there's things in place, there's guidelines that there's no problem with it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we are into the final stretch right now, and let's talk about the rubber meets the road when it comes to faculty, the folks who really have the interface with the kids. And we will stick with you, Mr. Riley, for this one here. Do you believe Leon County teachers are paid competitively today? And if not, where should the money come from to get them to that competitive angle?
Great question. No, they're not paid competitively. I think anybody with any common sense would say that. Where should the money come from? Let me be clear. I don't support the millage rate only because I don't support where the money's going to be going. If it was all going to teachers and support staff, I would be fine with it. There's too much margin for error on that right at this point. But I believe that we should take that from the executive positions. We have too many people that are non-teachers, more than our peer groups, and we can get the money from there.
Very good. Mr. Nicholas.
Please repeat the question.
Yes. Do you believe Leon County teachers are paid competitively? If not, where should the money come from?
Yeah, so we're 44 right now. Again, if the millage rate passes, we'll move to 11. My opponent continues to say common sense, but common sense is not that common when you have no context, right? And so what my opponent doesn't understand is that we do have a comp study, and our comp study would suggest that there are a few outliers who are overpaid, but for the most part within our administration, but for the most part, they're not overpaid. This is just a narrative that's being overbloated. So where should the money come from? I would love the money to come from the millage rate, but if the money does not come from the millage rate, we will continue to do what we've been doing over the last 4 years.
Very good. Last faculty question, sticking with you, Mr. Nicholas. 30 seconds, please. Negotiations with the teachers union, sometimes strained a little bit. What should the role be of a board member to ensure a good deal for all parties?
Actually, we can't do anything about it. Like it's actually statutorily against, any rules that we can do anything about it. So what we do is we make our recommendations to the superintendent based on the data that we have in front of us, and then the district goes out and executes the contract. But beyond that, we actually can't do anything.
Very good, Mr. Riley.
That's correct. Yes, there'd be no type of.
Very good. We end on a consensus, and we turn it over to Mr. St. Clair to close us out.
All right, so as we get to our closing statement, we're going to go first with Mr. Riley with 45 seconds on the answer to this one or the request. Could you speak directly to voters and share your website information, please?
Yes. I'm running for school board, not Look, I'm not a politician. It's not something I had on my bingo card in 2025 either. I've looked at it in the past. I decided not to run because I had a promotion at work the last cycle. I just think it needs to be done. I think there needs to be more accountability. There needs to be more transparency. If you know me, you know I have no problems with those things. Our teachers need to be paid more. We need to look at our executive level positions and get those cut down. So if you want changes, it's going to start here in District 5.
So we go to Mr. Nicholas. Same.
Over the last 18 years, I've dedicated my entire professional career to the students and the parents and the families and the communities within District 5, starting as a Godby High School English teacher. And I made such an impact that that I moved on to Tallahassee State College, and all of those students followed me because we did some great work, but we have a lot more work to do. Again, we talked about the comprehension, the comp study, comp and class study, the 28-year study. Well, that actually has to be implemented. I want to spend the next 4 years making sure that that's implemented appropriately. We talked about a research practice partnership. Well, I want to make sure that that expands to all of the schools in Leon County.
Thanks to the candidates and to our audiences for joining the Capital Region News Collaborative and the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee for the program. You can find replays of the forum and others on our partners' YouTube pages and websites. The recorded broadcast to be aired July 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on WFSU 88.9 FM. Please tell your friends.
Also, final forum for the primary races will take place this afternoon at 1 p.m. and focus on the candidates for City Commission seats 4. That's the mayoral race. You can learn more about the upcoming forum and the collaborative at cfnf.org/CRNC.
And remember, to cast your ballot for these races, you must be a registered voter. The voter registration deadline for the primary is July 20th. Early voting begins August 8th and ends on the 16th. Primary election day takes place on August 18th. Once the elections are done, there will be 2 windows to recycle candidate signs. The first is from August 19th and runs to September 18th. There will be another after the general election in November. Just bring your signs to the specially marked dumpsters at the locations on your screen to keep these used signs out of our local landfills.
And if you have questions for our final forum this afternoon, please email us at news@tallahassee.com. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great day.